Meantime, Anthropic now saying the U.S. Commerce Department has lifted export controls on its Claude Fable 5 and Mythos 5.
Fable 5 is back. That sounds like a simple tech update. A model went offline, the company fixed something, and now users can open it again. But that is not what really happened. For almost 3 weeks, one of the most important AI models in the world disappeared because of a U.S. government export control order. Not a normal outage, not server overload, a government directive. Anthropic says the order arrived on June 12th. It applied to Claude Fable 5 and Claude Mythos 5, and it required the company to restrict access by foreign nationals, whether those people were inside the United States or outside it. That detail matters. This was not just, do not provide the model in one country. It was, do not provide the model to a class of people defined by nationality, anywhere in the world. Anthropic then faced a practical problem. How do you verify nationality in real time for every user? Every API call, every enterprise account, every cloud customer, and every developer using the model through another product? Anthropic said it had no reliable way to do that immediately. So instead of only blocking foreign nationals, it shut off access for everyone. That is why Fable 5 vanished. Then on June 30th, the export controls were lifted. On July 1st, Anthropic said Fable 5 would return globally across Claude Platform, Claude.ai, Claude Code, and Claude Cowork. Access through cloud platforms like AWS, Google Cloud, and Microsoft Foundry would be restored as quickly as possible. For some paid plans, it would be included up to a limited share of weekly usage through July 7th, and after that, it would move into usage credits. So yes, Fable 5 is back. But the important question is not just, can people use it again? The important question is, what changed while it was gone? Because this episode may be remembered as an early test of what happens when a frontier AI model becomes powerful enough that governments stop treating it like software and start treating it like strategic infrastructure. To understand why this became so serious, we have to separate 3 things: the model, the jailbreak, and the government response. Fable 5 was not just another chatbot upgrade. Anthropic positioned it as a frontier model for hard, long-horizon work. Coding, agentic workflows, professional tasks, computer use, document-heavy reasoning, and complex projects where the model has to plan, test, revise, and keep track of many moving pieces. That already puts the model in a sensitive category. A normal chatbot can be wrong or annoying. A frontier model that can reason through code bases, identify vulnerabilities, operate tools, and perform multi-step technical work is different. It can help defenders. It can also help attackers if safeguards fail. According to Anthropic, the government became aware of a report from Amazon researchers. The report showed a method of bypassing Fable 5's safeguards by prompting it in a way that made it identify software vulnerabilities. In one case, the model produced code demonstrating how a vulnerability could be exploited. That is the core of the controversy. But here is where the story becomes more complicated. Anthropic said its later testing showed that other, less capable models could identify the same vulnerabilities. It also said that when it came to the exploit demonstration, every model it tested could produce the same kind of demonstration, including several older Claude models, GPT 5.4, T5.5, and Kimi K2.7. If that is true, then Fable 5 was not uniquely dangerous in the narrow example that triggered the shutdown. The risk existed across the industry. Fable 5 may have been the model under the microscope, but the underlying problem was bigger than one model. That is why this story matters. If one model can be blocked because a narrow jailbreak exists, and every frontier lab has some version of that weakness, then the standard could freeze the entire industry. Anthropic basically made that argument in public. It said it supports government power to block unsafe deployments, but it disagreed that a narrow potential jailbreak should be enough to recall a commercial model used by a huge number of people. This is the tension at the center of the AI race. Governments do not want uncontrolled frontier capabilities spreading everywhere. Companies do not want one ambiguous report to shut down a product overnight. Developers do not want their tools disappearing with no warning. Security researchers do not want safety systems so blunt that legitimate defensive work gets blocked. And ordinary users just want to know whether the tool they are paying for will still exist tomorrow. The return of Fable 5 is not a clean victory for any side. It is a compromise. So what changed? First, the safeguards changed. Anthropic says it updated Fable 5's safeguards and explained more about how it uses safety classifiers to detect potentially dangerous cybersecurity use. On the public Fable page, Anthropic says many cybersecurity and biology queries are automatically routed to Opus 4.8 if they are flagged by these safeguards, and users are not charged Fable prices for rerouted requests. That sounds minor, but it is a big design decision. Instead of simply saying yes or no, the system can decide that a prompt is too risky for the most capable model and move it to a different model. The user may still get help, but not from Fable 5. In theory, this reduces the chance that the most powerful model provides dangerous assistance in sensitive areas. In practice, it creates a new problem: silent capability changes. Imagine you are a defensive security researcher trying to audit your own system. You ask for help understanding a vulnerability. The request looks suspicious to the classifier. Suddenly, you are not using the model you thought you were using. Maybe the answer is weaker. Maybe the debugging gets worse. Maybe you do not even know why the model feels different. That is one reason some developers are worried. Safety routing can be useful, but if it is too broad, it can turn the model into something unpredictable. A frontier model that silently downgrades itself is still available, but not always available in the way users expect. Second, Anthropic is pushing for a shared jailbreak severity framework. Right now, the industry does not have a universal standard for judging how bad a jailbreak really is. Is it a harmless trick that produces a weird answer? Is it a narrow bypass that only works in one specific situation? Is it a broad jailbreak that unlocks dangerous capabilities across many domains? Does it reveal something unique about a frontier model, or does every public model already do the same thing? Those questions matter because the response should depend on the severity. A narrow, hard-to-use bypass should not automatically trigger the same response as a universal jailbreak that gives non-experts powerful offensive capability. If every weakness is treated as catastrophic, companies may overreact or hide information. If nothing is treated as serious, dangerous capabilities may spread faster than anyone can manage. Anthropic says it has started developing a shared framework with Amazon, Microsoft, Google, and other Glasswing partners. The goal is to create a consistent way to assess and fix potential jailbreaks, triage new findings, communicate risk to government and industry partners, and decide what level of response is appropriate. That is a sign of where frontier AI is going. The future will not just be model cards and benchmark charts. It will be incident categories, severity levels, red team reports, government briefings, pre-release testing, emergency patches, access tiers, cloud approvals, and maybe for the most powerful systems, something that looks less like launching an app and more like releasing dual-use technology. Third, government collaboration got deeper. Anthropic said it is strengthening collaboration with the US government on pre-release testing, information sharing, and research collaboration. That is another major shift. For years, AI companies mostly launched models and then handled safety through internal policies, voluntary commitments, and public pressure. This episode shows that voluntary systems may not be enough when a model is seen as strategically important. The government can step in quickly. The company may disagree, but if the directive is legal, the company has to comply. That creates a new reality for AI builders. If you build on a frontier model, you are not just depending on the company. You are depending on the company's relationship with regulators, national security agencies, cloud partners, and export control authorities. Your stack can change because of a policy decision you had no part in. That is one of the biggest lessons from the Fable 5 shutdown. People talk about AI risk as if the only danger is what the model might say. But there is another risk: platform risk. The model can disappear. Access can be restricted. Pricing can change. A prompt that worked yesterday can route to a different model tomorrow. A product built on a single frontier model can become unstable overnight. That does not mean nobody should use these models. It means serious teams need fallback plans. If Fable 5 is part of your workflow, you need to know what happens if it is unavailable again. Can you switch to Opus, Sonnet, GPT, Gemini, Kimi, or a local model? Can your application degrade gracefully? Do your users know when a task is handled by a weaker model? Are you storing enough context to resume work elsewhere? Are you relying on one provider for something business critical? Now, what are the chances it gets blocked again? The honest answer is possible, but the next version may look different. A second sudden global shutdown is not impossible. If a serious jailbreak appears, if the model is tied to a real cyber incident, if regulators believe Anthropic failed to control access, or if geopolitical tensions rise around AI exports, the government could act again. This episode proved the mechanism exists. It is no longer theoretical. But a repeat of the exact same blanket shutdown may be less likely because everyone saw how blunt it was. The order was aimed at foreign nationals, but the practical effect was a global shutdown. That is disruptive for customers, partners, researchers, and even US organizations that may benefit from the model. So the more likely future is not permanent bans. It is layered control, more pre-release testing before frontier models launch, more formal reporting channels for jailbreaks, more access tiers for sensitive capabilities, more routing away from the top model in cyber and bio domains, more government visibility into models before they reach the public, more rules around which cloud customers can access which systems, more pressure for identity verification when models cross certain capability thresholds. In other words, Fable 5 may be back, but the frontier model era is becoming less open. That does not mean every restriction is bad. Some capabilities genuinely are dual use. A model that helps a defender patch a vulnerability can also help an attacker understand it. A model that accelerates biological research can also raise biosecurity questions. A model that operates computers and writes code can be productivity software and cyber infrastructure at the same time. The problem is not that governments care. The problem is how they act. If the response is precise, transparent, and based on clear evidence, it can reduce risk while keeping useful tools available. If the response is sudden, vague, and broad, it can damage trust without actually making the world safer. The Fable 5 episode sits right on that line. For casual users, Fable 5 coming back is just good news. The powerful model returns, work resumes, Claude Code users can continue building, researchers can test it, teams can try it again. For developers, it is a warning. Do not assume the best model is a stable dependency. Build abstraction layers, keep alternatives, track model routing, log outputs, know when a model changes. Treat frontier AI like cloud infrastructure with political risk attached. For policymakers, it is a case study in how hard AI controls are to implement. You cannot easily separate domestic from foreign users when software is global, API-based, cloud-hosted, and embedded into other tools. Export control language meets real-world product architecture, and the result can be messy. And for everyone watching the AI race, Fable 5 is a signal. The next phase of AI is not only about who has the smartest model, it is about who is allowed to deploy it, who is allowed to use it, what safeguards sit between the user and the model, and who gets to decide when a capability is too dangerous for open access. That is why this return is bigger than a comeback story. Fable 5 is back, but it did not return to the same world it left. Before the shutdown, the question was, how powerful is this model? After the shutdown, the question is, who controls access to powerful models? That is the real story. A government order took a frontier model offline. A company pushed back, negotiated, changed safeguards, and brought it back. Industry partners started working on a common jailbreak framework. Users learned that AI access can depend on law, nationality, safety classifiers, and cloud policy, not just subscription plans. So if you are asking whether Fable 5 can be banned again, the answer is yes, in theory. But the deeper answer is that the whole system is moving toward a world where the most capable AI models are never simply available or unavailable. They will be conditionally available. Available depending on who you are. Available depending on what you ask. Available depending on what the classifier thinks you are trying to do. Available depending on what the government and the company agree is acceptable. Fable 5 came back. But the ban did not disappear. It left behind a blueprint. And the next time a model crosses whatever invisible line governments are watching, the response may be faster, more targeted, and much harder for ordinary users to notice. The model may not vanish from the menu. It may simply stop being the model you thought you were using.